الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. As promised, I wanted to talk today about how to keep the legacy of Ramadan beyond Ramadan. How to extend that experience beyond Ramadan. And to do that, I wanted to start with a story that has been mentioned briefly in the Quran, because the Quran, in its style, it tells something and there's a story behind it, and it is the people who know, Ahl al-Dhikr, people who really investigate what's in the Quran, that dig deep to find out why, what's the sabab al-nuzul, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal that particular ayah. So to start with, I want to mention that close to Al-Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, there is a sign that says Al-Ji'arrana, 24 kilometers. Al-Ji'arrana is the name of a woman that now became the name of a district, a suburb to the northeast of Al-Masjid al-Haram, 24 kilometers from Al-Masjid al-Haram. And as I said, it takes after that woman by the name of Al-Ji'arrana. Who was Al-Ji'arrana? Al-Ji'arrana used to live in Mecca. She was well known to the people of Mecca and beyond because of what she did. She was a mentally deranged woman. And every morning, very early in the morning, she would wake up, she would have a big roll of yarn, and she will start to weave and weave and weave and work very hard until late into the night. And she will have a big piece, a strong piece of weaving that she worked very hard on. So when she finishes that, she looks at it, and then she takes it and she starts to shred it into pieces. And she did that every day, day in, day out. She will wake up early, work very hard. At the end of the day, when she finishes, she will shred it into pieces. And everybody used to talk about Al-Ji'arrana. Why would she do that? And even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used her example to be registered in Surah number 16 of Al-Quran Al-Kareem, Surah Al-Nahl, the bees. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تكونوا كالتي نقضت غزلها من بعد قوة أنكاثا. Be not like her, who undid what she worked on after weaving and after achieving some strength through that weaving. Don't do what she used to do by shredding things into pieces. In other words, do not build, then destroy. Do not build a structure, then, bring the bulldozer to just basically knock it off, because you will achieve nothing. And if our lives, the lives that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how long, how short, where, how, what circumstances, do not, come and build during a certain season, then after that season is over, you just basically knock it off. What did you achieve? We know that our goal is to get to Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promoting Jannah in the Quran, is promoting Jannah through the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and is telling us how beautiful Jannah is, how life will be so peaceful in Jannah. But to get to Jannah, or for that matter, if you are driving on the highway and you want to get to Toronto, okay, you go to the first service station, you fill gas, then you go back to London. And then you go back to that service station. You fill gas that you lost, you go back to London. Well, your destination is Toronto. So don't keep on back, because you will be wasting time. And the same thing, if we want to go to Jannah, we don't take one step forward and then one step or two steps back. Because that will not take us to Jannah. That will keep us in a vibrating motion. Forth backwards. And I wanted to start with this example so that we will understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us. You know, if you built on a legacy of starting to enjoy Qiyam in Ramadan, extend that beyond Ramadan. Because you already tasted the sweetness of being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, performing this ibadah. You know, Abdullah ibn Umar used to love to sleep at the Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina. He used to be a young man and he would love to just go and sleep there. And he had a recurrent dream that was a scary dream. He would see himself coming close to the edge of a cliff, and then he will feel somebody coming from behind him to push him down into that valley. And he will run away and he will wake up terrified. He saw that so often that he wanted to know, what does that mean? Because of the adab, because of the way they used to regard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was so shy to go and ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So he asked his sister, Hafsa, the wife of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the daughter of Umar ibn Khattab, his own sister. He told her, Ya Ukhayya, you know, this is what I'm seeing. Would you please ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on my behalf? So she did. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam answered by this. He said, go and tell Abdullah that he would benefit a great deal if he would every now and then establish at least 2 raka'at of qiyam during the night. So she went and told that young man. He wasn't old like his father. Even his father was young. He wasn't that old at all. But he said, since I heard this from my sister, coming from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I never missed a single night of qiyam in my life. So he kept on building. And Ramadan is an institution to build. Ramadan does so many things to us. And before I, start to say the well-known facts or mention the well-known facts, because, it's known to all of us are doing it, I would like to say or ask a question. Do you know the difference between a marathon runner and a sprinter? Well, I'm going to answer that. A marathon runner works on endurance. He trains himself through exercises of endurance to be able to tolerate that the body will endure those long distances of running. That's what a marathon runner does. That's the training. A sprinter, on the other hand, trains himself to make every single muscle in his body so strong and work in coordination with the other muscles, so that when he will run, he will be focused to use all of his power that he trained to achieve to be able to finish or to reach the finish line and win the race. A marathon runner has to be also a sprinter. And if you have seen a marathon anywhere, whether it is in Boston, in France, in New York, those in Toronto, where people go on a marathon, what do you see? You see hundreds of people who cannot stand on a straight line. And we wonder sometimes, what about those in the back? It's not that. What happens actually, the beginning is not what matters. Because what happens as they start to run, they run slowly. And then as they reach a certain distance, many people start to fall on the sideways. They cannot continue anymore. They fall on the sideways, and then fewer people remain. And then they continue to run. Now it's a little bit, faster. And some people, and then close to the finish line, you only see a few people. Close to the finish line, you only see a few people, and those few people start to sprint. They start to sprint, and they run. They use all their power, they focus. Even as they get close to the finish line, if there are two people, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ twice in the Quran. Compete in goodness. So what happens even if somebody extends his neck? Just extending the neck, he will win the race. And the same thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to tell us, he used to tie his waistline. And he used to wake up everybody. Now we are sprinting towards the finish line. And that is why Ramadan is not a curve that starts like this, as I mentioned earlier, in previous weeks. And then we go into a plateau. And many people start to go down in the last 10 days of Ramadan. If that is the case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have placed Laylatul Qadr in the first night of Ramadan. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hid Laylatul Qadr in the last odd nights of the last 10 nights of Ramadan, because we are supposed to be marathon runners and sprinters. Unfortunately, and my children show me things on YouTube that I've never seen before. Young people making fun of this practice of Ramadan. Making fun. There are people whom we saw in Taraweeh the first few nights. Now, we don't want to be judgmental. This is not my position to judge anybody. I myself, I've been traveling. Many people would assume, okay, he doesn't come to Taraweeh. Okay. Now, we have to understand that this ibadah, wallahi, is a gift. When we look deeper into وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, we have not sent you, Ya Muhammad, except as a mercy to humankind. Ramadan is part of that mercy. Wallahi, it is part of that mercy. Without Ramadan, I don't know what would have happened to the Muslim Ummah. Without Ramadan, if we did not have Ramadan, I don't know what would have happened to the institution of Salat, of Zakat, of people would have forgotten. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His infinite mercy, He instituted an entire month for us to come back together. Because even ajallakumullah, animals that go in the wilderness and have their pups around them, okay, even that instinct in the mother, she would go every now and then and look for her, pups and gather them. whether it's a duck under her wings or whether it's a lioness, brings them back. They will look for them, and if one is missing, they go crazy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathers us, even the usat, even those who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala openly or secretly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathers them, said, I'll give you another chance. I'll give you another chance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gives us 5 chances every day. And a weekly chance. And, an annual chance. And He says, no, I'm going to give you some seasonal chances as well. I will give you the first 10 days of the Hijjah. I'll give you the 10th of Al-Muharram, Arafat, Monday and Thursday. I'll give you the 13th, 14th, and 15th of every month. Go ahead. Go ahead. Come close to me. And I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the example of that gas station at the corner. The owner of that new gas station says, I'm going to allow the first 40 people who will come to my gas station to fill and get a car wash for free. Well, it'll be silly if anybody from the 40 who will come will fill just regular gas. It'll be silly. Or they will get basic wash. The smart thing is to fill from the highest octane grade and to get the works for the car wash. Why? The gas station owner said it's for free. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not promoting a gas station. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promoting Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promoting Jannah. And He's saying, not only the first 40, He's saying anyone, not only Muslims, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not sent as a mercy للمسلمين وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. So now we Muslims, after the death of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his passing away, it is our duty to transfer that mercy that goes through us to the Alameen. If we are not merciful, الراحمون يرحمهم الله. Those who are merciful towards people, Allah will keep on supplying them with mercy. You are giving it to people, so Allah will give you mercy. Because this is what life is all about. If we will end up frightening people and terrifying people and causing havoc, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take that mercy away from us. And isn't this from what is happening to us? We have to be a source of mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us this month to train in every aspect, to really work on our personality, on our character, on our inner self. To work on that, and after that, go and share. I don't know how many of you were here last Thursday. There was an iftar, and there were 42 people who were not Muslim. They had fasted, some of them for a day, some of them for a week, some of them fasted but they drank water. Alhamdulillah, they were here. And I was in Edmonton, on Friday, and I just arrived at the airport and I see the phone call from the organizer of that iftar dinner. And he said, I want to tell you that one of the women who were in attendance is that close to accepting Islam. Because of the rahmah, because of what Ramadan is all about. Because when we work on our personality and we go to the world, there's no way you will not recognize a freshly washed car on a muddy, thawing, snowy day. You know that day when the snow starts to melt, and it is so muddy because of the sand that the municipality had deposited on the roads, and then it becomes so muddy, and then all the cars are so dirty. Yet there's a car that just came out of the wash. You look at that car, you recognize it immediately. The same thing, someone who is distinct in her or his behavior towards others captures the attention of people. Wallahi, we will be asked on the day of judgment, لا تزول قدما عبد حتى يسأل. Each one of us will have an audience with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. We will not be taken in groups because of time. No, time disappears. There's no such thing as time anymore. Time is only created for our life on this planet. Once it is al-akhirah, there's no such thing as time. So we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala one by one. And no one will say, can I ask my dad to come with me, please? Because no. We will be alone. Alone in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we have built and continue to build and have done what we are supposed to do and shared Islam with others properly, and people loved Islam because of us, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us abundantly. Abundantly. I remember, you might have heard it on YouTube as well, the story of that Imam in London, England. Have you heard the story of the London Imam in London, England? Who basically went on a bus from in front of his masjid. And then, he put money, and the driver gave him the change, but it was some, extra money that he gave it to him. That Imam, there were people behind them. He looked at it, he knew that it was more. He said, I don't want to keep the people, and so he went and he sat. And he said, what will this do to the budget of the municipality in London, England? Just before going down from the bus, he said, no, I can't take that. It was so little. Maybe it was 10 pence or something. So little. He went to the driver and he said, you gave me this when I came, and it was more than what owes to me. So please take it back before I go down. He said, are you the Imam of that masjid from where? He said, yes. He said, I've been passing so often in front of this mosque, and I wanted so much to go and learn about Islam and see what Islam is all about. And I wanted, actually, I did that on purpose. I was testing you to know what Islam was all about. And I put that extra just to see how you will react. And thank you so much for showing me what Islam is all about. That Imam on YouTube, he wrote, actually, he said, I was in tears for days. I said, I almost sold Islam for 10 pence. I almost sold Islam for 10 pence. How often do we go on a road rage and we are visibly Muslim and people see us, and how often do we scream and yell publicly? How often do we misbehave and show others, what our character is all about? And how often do we see others of other faith traditions who are so peaceful and gentle? And we ask ourselves, but isn't this what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us? وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَّوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created our spouses for each other so that we can enjoy sakina, we can enjoy peaceful coexistence together, so that we can enjoy peace. How often do we hear about, and I heard it from women who tell me that we make dua, myself and my children, that my husband will not come home soon. Yes, astaghfirullah al-azim. Well, Ramadan comes to change all of that. It is a fact out of psychology books. I mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. It's a fact that if you do something consistently for 21 days, you keep doing it, it becomes a habit. But it has to be consistent. 21 days. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extends it a little bit more than 21 days. We've been doing lots of good. We've been sending food to the food bank. I don't know of any city now in Canada that does not send packages to the food bank. And there are food banks in cities. I know in Calgary, the Central Food Bank depends on Ramadan. Depends on Ramadan. And you've heard those voices out of Grenville in London, England, from that building. The inhabitants who said, thanks for Ramadan. Had it not been for the Muslims who were awake at that time to help everybody, we would have all been dead by now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending us Ramadan to say, you need to live in the legacy of Ramadan. Do not take that legacy on the 1st of Shawwal and throw it out the window. Because you know what? You will be like Al-Ja'rana. You will be on the 1st of Shawwal going and taking yourself back to the 30th of Sha'ban. Don't do that. Don't take your family to celebrate the day of Eid in haram activities. You've been insisting on, especially in Ramadan, to look for everything that is halal and making sure that you are, getting used to halal in your household. Do not now lose the legacy of Ramadan by saying, well, I did qiyam for 30 days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's enough for me. I hear people who say, suffices for me. Astaghfirullah, for people to think that way. Suffices for me to just basically be that last one that is mentioned in the Hadith al-Qudsi, who will be admitted to Jannah and the doors will be closed behind. I'll be happy. Well, we know, the ulama identified 4 levels of Jannah. 4 levels of Jannah. Well, there is Jannah al-Firdaus, the highest level of Jannah. Okay. And then underneath it, there is Jannah al-Khuld. And then underneath it, There is Jannatu Adn. And way below is Jannatul Ma'wa. Ma'wa, by the way, is shelter. One, we know that there are people living in shelters because of circumstances. But life in a shelter is not like life at home. We don't want to say safa. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, سابقوا إلى جنة. سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض. أعدت. You know what's أعدت in Arabic? It means already being prepared. It's ready for you. It's waiting for you. Race. You know what's race? Sprint. Allahu Akbar. It's sprint. We were talking about sprinting. We were talking about marathon running. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a hint. Race. There's no time to walk towards Jannah. When it comes to Jannah, you have to race. And you know that relay race that you have to train your children to be part of. You know the relay race in Olympics, 4 runners. You know, one starts to sprint very fast and then reaches to the second runner waiting for him. Now the second runner starts to accelerate as that one, because of the you know, there's, sorry, big words, but it's okay. There is the potential energy and kinetic energy. You know, the kinetic energy cannot come to a halt, otherwise you will explode. You know, at the end of that sprinting race, they have a very soft barrier where all the sprinters go and hit it, so that the kinetic energy will dissipate. And the same thing in the relay race. You know, one starts to decelerate as the other starts to accelerate. So as you start to decelerate, your son will start to accelerate. The same thing. You know, we will be giving our children that baton, and we pray for them that they will accelerate with the same strength that we had, or at least that we had. And this is what Ramadan is all about. We would like to establish a culture of Ramadan, because we would like, as I recited last week, that when we are in Jannah, our children will be with us. Nuh is going to miss his son, who chose not to go with him on the ark. And Nuh said, Ya Allah, please, he is my son. He said, no, he is not your son. Because what he did was not acceptable. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. On the day of judgment, no father will speak on behalf of his son. No mother will speak on behalf of her son or daughter. No, each one will be by himself or herself.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. And vice versa. أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا وَلَا يَهْتَدُونَ. Now, they say, oh, we did what our parents... okay, now the parents are going to be held responsible, but the children will be asked. You learn those good things, and then the obvious things that are, you know, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in us a compass, busila, a compass. It's called fitra. La ilaha illallah. He created this compass that can tell that this is right, this is wrong. We know that. And not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in us the power to love that which is in fitrah good, to love it. We love it. And we detest that which by our fitrah, by our innate nature, we know it's bad. What's the proof for that? وحبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان أولئك هم الراشدون. In Surah Al-Hujurat, Surah number 49 of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Allah, look, even the kafir is searching for something. We call it iman. They call it peace of mind. They call it, some kind of feeling. Because we love that feeling. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it for us because we are mu'min, we are believers. He said, Allah habbaba ilaykum al-iman. He made iman lovable. You love iman, and made kufr, fusuq, asyan, so detested. We don't like it. We don't like it. This is nature. This is part of, and this is, in Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it easy for us, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, He said, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ. Allah is going to make it easy for you. Try fasting 22 hours outside of Ramadan, as they do in Fort McMurray. In Edmonton, it's 20 hours, 19 3/4 of an hour. Okay. See, when I left London on Friday, I left at 4 a.m. and I broke my fast at 12 midnight hour London time. Allah is my witness. Allah is my witness. Allah is my witness. I didn't feel the difference. Alhamdulillah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes care of us. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking care of us, why do we want to abandon this legacy? Why do we want to live outside of Ramadan, away from Ramadan? And we know that the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wait for Ramadan for 6 months. They would start to count days, as if to say counting days. And they used to live in the shadow of Ramadan for 5 more months. That was life to them was Ramadan. Ramadan. So I'd like to end by saying, when we talk or mention the word legacy, it means, what's legacy? Legacy is to live legally. Is to, when you say that this is legal, it means this is real. This is what needs to happen. That the legal, statement, it means this is what is right. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Kassem says, وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called our deen al-haq. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. This is Ramadan. This is the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whosoever wants to enjoy after Ramadan the legacy of Ramadan is welcome to do so. And whosoever wants to relapse, then it is up to them to do that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who will persevere, who will inshallah continue without looking back towards Jannah, who will continue, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I forgot, but I will say it now. I was going to quote when I said that our children, inshallah, will go with us to Jannah. We will be actually waiting for them in Jannah, inshallah. We will be so proud that we've done our work with them, and we were hoping that once we leave, that they will continue to do with their children what we did. Okay? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we read from Surah Al-Ra'd, والذين صبروا ابتغاء وجه ربهم وأقاموا الصلاة وأنفقوا مما رزقناهم سرا وعلانية ويدرؤون بالحسنة السيئة أولئك لهم عقبى الدار جنات عدن يدخلونها ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم والملائكة يدخلون عليهم من كل باب سلام عليكم بما صليتم. Why not صليتم? زكيتم. You know why? Now I'm looking at my older brother. Because صبرتم includes everything. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات general وتواصوا بالحق general وتواصوا بالصبر because قيام requires صبر, fasting requires صبر, abstaining from saying haram requires صبر, not looking at haram requires صبر, to rejoin blood relationship requires صبر, it's all صبر. بما صبرتم فنعم عقبى الدار. This is our destination. This is where we are going. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, have those angels waiting for us at the gates of Jannah. And we hope that we will be with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at the Hawd, where if we are thirsty right now, he will give us a drink from both his hands, and we will never go thirsty after that. Jazakumullah khair. If there is any comment.